Today, I just want to go through the roundtable interview session that the Prime Minister had on the 17th of February. And it's going to be relatively short, I think, because it wasn't much that was said in this roundtable discussion or roundtable interview. So before I jump into my breakdown of that roundtable session, just like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's get into the conversation. And so from the top, let me just give the Prime Minister kudos for what he mentioned from the onset of the roundtable. So let me just let you listen to it, and then, I'll give him the props for that.
I want to give a shout out to the Ministry of Health, the perspective of the nurses, the doctors, the obstetrician, the gynecologist, and all the nurses. And I will also say anybody who is associated with the Ministry of Health. Last year, 2025, we had 0 maternal deaths. 0 maternal deaths suggests that we are a health system that is robust and a health system.
Kudos to what they did last year to achieve 0 maternal deaths. That's something to admire. That's something to give praise to, right? That's a good step forward in terms of overall human development in our country. And so that's something that should be championed and should be given due appreciation and kudos to, right? So that's good. All right, moving on from there. He was talking about the Frigate Bay acquisition of the land over at Frigate Bay.
There are some real achievements in procuring or getting this Frigate Bay land. Now, this agreement that we had to purchase and to acquire the Frigate Bay land brings 77.23 acres of prime Frigate Bay land into full state ownership, along with the golf course lands, the golf club house, and its operating company. So everything is now under the ownership of the government.
No, I don't think that Drew understands that this is not quite the win that he thinks it is. This is actually a very concerning development, that the hotel has relinquished control of golf course lands, managing the golf course, the clubhouse. They have relinquished the rights to control that. A hotel, a resort. Some of these hotels and resorts out there, one of their main attraction is a golf course. So when persons booking, some people want to know, is there a golf course? And so that is saying something about our tourism product. No. It is telling me something about our tourism product. Something is off. They are not being straight up and honest with us. Something is off. Remember, they had to loan Marriott, must say some $27 million. So clearly something is amiss. And he's coming and telling us like, okay, they were leasing the land, they gave us back the land, we acquired the land plus more, prime land. Something doesn't smell right. Because I understand a hotel giving up land, something ain't smell right. And so we need to, he think that we are not going to question this further. Something is not right when the hotel is relinquishing the rights to control and manage the golf course. It is not the win you are trying to make it out to be. It is very concerning, especially when tourism is our main product. And then there's no real plan for the land now. Because he's saying, okay, we're going to make it available for residential and commercial purposes. And then you want to use talking points. Young people, you want to use young people, so give young people access to prime land. Yo, young people can't even afford the land up in Beacon Heights. I remember at the time I was trying to apply for some land, and when they had the land building down on Liverpool Road, and they are saying, okay, these lands, they're going to get the man down there to control. You know, the land in the countryside, in Sadlers, Deep Bay, Sandy Point, all them, they give the land into control. And the man said, look here, the beacon heights and stuff, you gotta go up by the sustainable development. Them, they ain't gonna give up this thing to easy normal people. So now come tell me nothing about you're gonna make land a bit prime land available for young people. Who young people got enough assets unless they're born with a silver spoon, a platinum spoon? Which young person would have enough money and assets to acquire land in Frigate Bay? And I don't think the government is foolish enough to sell prime land for subprime prices. I don't think so. The other day, Mark was talking about trying to buy land in Frigate Bay, Mark Brantley. And he said he had to do wheel and come again because the price was so high. So don't try to use a cowboy young people to say, no, this is not a win, this is a lose, this is a L. This is a L for the country. So don't try to sell it as a W. There's no plan for the land. So how are we going to get returns from that land? How?
So we know that there was an agreement with, of course, a company to manage the golf course, which is in association with Marriott. That agreement had part most of the golf course. The last 3 holes, that land that was in that agreement only accommodated 15 holes. The last 3 holes did not belong to the state. The last have now acquired that. Acres of new prime land in Frigate Bay. What is this going to do? We intend there will be a 47.97 acre parcel. We will use some of that, subdivide it into residential and commercial lots with a clear focus on providing young citizens access to land ownership. So this move is to get our people to be able to build in Frigate Bay. So I want our people to understand that we are going to create this scenario. What we want to do is break down barriers and any issue that people might raise with respect to. Over here,
I think the PM is out of touch with that assessment. The PM is out of touch with that assessment. Just so he's out of touch with so many other things, policies and programs he thinks are something that he's cooking on, something that is revolutionary. And when upon further inspection, he can't hold up. This can't hold up under scrutiny. Who young person can afford land over Frigate Bay? Even if you're a doctor, just come back out, you need some time to build whatever, over time, of course. But who young person can afford lands in Frigate Bay? Unless you're going to sell them for subprime prices, which I don't think makes sense for the government to do. So what are you trying to sell us here? Not buying it? I'm not buying that at all.
It's for a certain set of people and over there for a next set. We are eliminating that, and we'll make lots available for our ordinary people here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So if you have a young professional, doesn't matter which part of the country they may come from, they have the opportunity to own land in Frigate Bay, prime land that we have acquired and we will make available. We will also be expanding high-value development opportunities. There's another 13.16 acre parcel overlooking Half Moon Bay. Will support luxury villas and potentially a high-end hotel. I am not declaring that the hotel is going to open there. I'm just saying that the land is available, and that is one of the possibilities that can.
So right there, he's telling us they don't have any plan for the land. Whomever, they wanted nothing to do with it, so they say, okay, take it back. But the government, there's no plan for the land in the foreseeable future that can help to generate economic activity. There's no plan for that land. So for him to act as though it's something spectacular and whatnot, we see through all of the smoke screen, Mr. PM. So come better than that. Okay, the next thing he looked at was weird. This is where the Prime Minister lose me. This is where the man lose me. Because time and time again, once a camera is in front of this man, you can guarantee that he's going to mention, I'm sure y'all could guess what it is. Guess what he's going to mention. Yeah, you guess right. Prison project. So he had to make an appearance here. And this way he'll lose me. So let me hear what he said about the prison project again. Hold on, let me run that.
We got 77 acres plus of prime land, including the golf course and the dome. And when I look at this and I think about the prison project, where 5,500 were used in our CBI program, where they call them units as shares, to build a prison.
Like I said, this is where the Prime Minister lose me most times. Because I may say that we tired hear this thing about prison project. We tired hear it. You say it over and over and over, and it's not resonating. Nobody care about that deal. Nobody really care. So you talk to the blue in your face, nobody care about that. Instead of continually running on your record, you keep going back to the old dead horses, whether it's prison projects, whatever it might be. You keep going back. And I keep telling you guys, these governments today have so much parallel with Trump. Or it's Biden, or it's Obama, or it's Clintons, or it's Timothy Harris. Prison project. We over that. Run on your what you have done. Run on your record. Talk about your record. So the no maternal deaths, good thing. Keep hyping up those kind of things. Your movement with Elevate, hype up them kind of things. The murder rate gone down, hype up them kind of things there. Crime situation in saying is down, hype up them kind of things there. Run on your record. You keep going back to things nobody really and you just seem like you just seem obsessed with this thing at this point in time, man. And when he mentioned it, the face get a certain way, the voice get a certain way, ready to be used. No, we don't pass that. The point is that you acquire the land. What you gonna do with it? We don't know. How you gonna repay the money that you spend for the rest of the land? We don't know. Because apparently there are no investments planned for that land, so they can have returns on those investments. So take money up the alien CBI to attain the lands with no way of investing to get returns on that land. But hey, that's labor maths for you. That's why we are always in economic hardship on the labor. Alright, so let's continue and see what else he spoke about. Alright, so the next thing he went on to speak about was CARICOM. Yes, Prime Minister Drew, we know you're the chairman of CARICOM. Congratulations. We know you are not the president of the Caribbean. We know you are not the Prime Minister of the Caribbean. Lord have mercy. Give us Kittitians and Divisions a little credit. We understand, most of us understand how government works. Most of us understand how the Caribbean works. We know for the 100th time that you are not the Prime Minister or the President of CARICOM. You don't have to tell us every single time you are in front of a mic that I am not the Prime Minister or President of CARICOM. It's getting old, still, we understand. Kamala King got nothing else to say. But he gonna be talking about the travel. So let's see, because you would tell, right, that they kind of know people saying out there. They know you're complaining about the travels, the frequent travels, and so he trying his best to clear the ear, right? Clear the ear about the traveling thing. But let's see what he say about the whole thing there.
As I want to thank all the fellow leaders within the region and those in CARICOM for their strong support thus far. I have visited about 5 leaders. Tomorrow, I'm traveling to Bahamas to meet with the Prime Minister there. Then I'm going to Jamaica to meet with the Prime Minister there. And then I'll return and fly down to Guyana and Suriname to meet with both presidents ahead of the 50th regular meeting of CARICOM, which is to be held here in Bastia, St. Kitts, from the 24th to the 27th of February. So I want to thank my fellow heads for their strong support up to this point. As I've said, I am not the Prime Minister of CARICOM. I am not the President of CARICOM. I am the Chair of CARICOM at this time to seek to coordinate and bring consensus among the heads that form CARICOM. Some questions about costs. I mostly travel by RSS. As you know, we all pay into the RSS on a yearly basis. And so, being the head of CARICOM, I get the opportunity to use the RSS plane, which is a military plane. It's no luxury at all, to move around the region and to meet the leaders. So there are those who are suggesting that this is costing all this type of money for me to reach the leaders. But that is not so at all. And it is important. I see some people suggesting that I have a Zoom meeting. This is not time for Zoom meeting. This is serious business. This is time that leaders sit in a room, close the door, and have frank, eyeball to eyeball, face-to-face discussion ahead of the 50th.
Now, I don't know who he's trying to convince, who he's trying to fool, right? But here my thing on this here. A good thing he qualify and say, I'm traveling on RSS. Usually, he said that he didn't say all the time is RSS. Only CARICOM business is RSS. But everything else, okay. So we could deduce that from what he said. And then you want to talk about, so that's 4 trips he's gonna do in the next upcoming in the near future. 4 trips. And then because he know persons are criticizing him for his frequent travels, he wants to say, oh, this ain't the time for Zoom. Things critical right now, no time for Zoom. Yes, there is. Yes, you can use Zoom. Don't you fool the big people. You can use Zoom. Especially for the simple fact that you are going to have a CARICOM meeting in St. Kitts in short order. So you can have the preliminary ones on Zoom and then the robust ones face to face at the meeting when they come in person. I mean, you want to say you are for championing sustainability. Sustainability. You don't think that all RSS is playing, as they say, belching all kind of carbon in the air? Huh? Yet they polluting the atmosphere? When you're traveling? You're talking about sustainability? You can use video conferencing. I mean, St. Kitts headquarters, ECCB. So you're telling me the governor for the bank, every time you want to talk to maybe Minister of Finance somewhere, wherever, some branch somewhere in OECS, you gotta travel? I've been to the ECCB. I know they have robust video conferencing technology. When I worked in agriculture, I know they had a room with video conferencing. We've had video conferencing interviews with the vets over around the region. I know in government headquarters, they do have robust video conferencing technology. Who are you trying to fool? You can use Zoom for the preliminary ones because they're coming to face you. You're traveling too much? And the question is, when you're out all this time, who running health? Who running the country? Who running your office? Like, who running these things? When you're out so much, who running all these things? That's a question people want to know, because if my premises are out so much, out more than in, who doing all these things?
Also want to add here, with respect to the Carden home, we have now officially appointed His Majesty's Prison to renovate and take care of the Carden home. They will be attached to the Carden home from now onwards. The Carden home has not seen any major improvement or upliftment for many, many years, and the decision has...
Now this is where the economist in me gets annoyed, right? This is where the economist in me gets very annoyed. Because if it's one thing economics would teach you, is that when the economy is kind of slow, government spending is one way to try to boost the economy. So you want to tell me, you got good, law-abiding contractors out there. Good, law-abiding contractors out there with workmen who are more than capable of maintaining and renovating the Carden home. But you want to what? Give the prisoners, you want a virtue signal now. You want to say, oh, second chance, rehabilitation, whatnot. That don't make no sense to me. Because if you want to drive some economic activity, give a contractor, a law-abiding contractor, the job to get the thing up and going, so that he can hire 2, 5, 10 men. Those 10 men got families, get a little money in the pocket. Like, how do y'all think about these things? You either want to spur economic activity in the country, give somebody the job so they can spread the love, spread the money around the economy, because everybody need to eat also. The prisoners already getting 3 squared meals. They're already being housed by taxpayer money. Don't let them take no bread from nobody, no. Give a law-abiding contractor the job to renovate and maintain the Caribbean home so that you can spread money in the economy. Simple. That's that. That's all I'm going to say on that.
Desalination plant is being constructed. It is now complete. It is producing presently 2 million gallons of potable water daily. During the commissioning period, we know that there were areas receiving water already. Frigate Bay, Bird Rock, and so forth. In addition to that, we have done some other work to divert water to other areas that were water scarce. This is a $60 million investment. In addition to the investment we made in Keon to find that new well. And that is in addition to the drilling that is presently taking place. We have contracted a company from Trinidad and Tobago who is now presently drilling. Right now, they are in Sadler's drilling. They have about 10 sites. And we don't intend to ever go back to a place where people can't have 24/7 water. So the journey has really started. Today, I just want to impress on our people that our water rates are some of the lowest in the Caribbean. And I want to encourage our people to really pay the water rate. When you pay your bill, the government does not make a profit. The government uses that money to invest in drilling.
You see, for me, the jury is still out on this desalination plant because I have some concerns about a desalination plant. I have concerns about the location of the industrial site where a lot of oil and gas used to be housed. So I have concerns about that. I have concerns about where the runoff and whatnot will be going. You know, when the water is treated, where the runoff going to go, because I know that kind of biodiversity impact, right? It can have impact on your ecosystems. So the jury is still out for me on that, because if you put too much brine in the water and fishing and that kind of thing, it can impact the ecosystems, biodiversity. Also, there's a reason why he's stressing pay our water bill. Pay our water bill. He mentioned that we got some of the lowest rate. You know what I mean? That's a precursor to increase in water rates, because a desalination plant isn't cheap to operate. It is not cheap to operate. To produce that 2 million gallon is going to cost money. And somebody got to bear the cost. Somebody got to bear the cost of that money. I would have preferred if Ministry of Environment go and find ways to capture water, harvest water that we get, and see what we can do from there. If nothing can be done there, okay, fine, desal plant, see what you could do with that. If all of the economic and all of the environmental studies have been done and it has found that it's more than safe and whatnot. Like I say, I have issues about the long-term viability of desal plants. That's just me. Right? So, but either way, I got my water. Haven't had full water pressure in almost 2 years. Water is a trickle. Every month is a trickle. Water is a trickle. So, may feeling the effects yet. So, hopefully, I feel some effects. But still have issues on that one. Right? So, that's my 2 cents on that particular part. Alright, so now we're going into the Q&A, question and answer segment. And just a few questions were asked. I think like 2 rounds of questions. And so some of them had similar messages, similar tones. So I'll just speak on the ones in relation to CARICOM and some other questions. So I'll just speak on those ones. I'm not gonna do all of them, right? So I'll just speak because I have a lot to say about CARICOM and how they are operating right now as it relates to America. It's very, very disappointing how CARICOM is operating when it comes to America. So this first question was about CARICOM. So in one vein, and also about the STEP program and them paying up, the businesses paying more money into STEP. So let's listen to what the young man had to say.
My next question is pertaining to the STEP. It's the STEP is going to decrease 50% with next month, March, right? Towards, businesses who have been assisting for quite some time. Now, the question on a lot of persons' mind is do you think the timing is right now for this initiative to take place, given the fact that yeah, cost of living, things have been going up, and also the fact with you actually making the call for more babies as well. We know a lot of business places cannot foot the other 250. So that's the whole thing. Do you think the timing is right now pertaining to that?
All right, thank you very much for your question. I think talking about the fertility and more babies may not be directly connected to STEP at all.
Well, I think that one went over his head, right? I think what the question was about is cost of living. And if you're carrying up the cost of production for organizations, persons might lose their job. That's what the question was kind of alluding to. And so if you want people to get more babies, then they'll have more mouths to feed, and so they need their job. And so if the organizations let off workers who are pregnant, it's going to be a problem. There, I clarified it for you. I think that's what he was trying to get at. But let's continue hearing his answer.
All right, so there are two different matters. So I would separate them, but I would answer your question with respect to the STEP. And you made a very good point. You spoke about the timing. COVID ended in 2022, roughly. And during that time, the government carried a lot of support to our people. We carried the STEP. Actually, we increased the STEP because tourism was so delayed and people were still out of jobs. We carried the STEP and we increased the number so that people can have a source of income. That's number one. Secondly, it was just after COVID, and to have made the shift in STEP just after COVID would have been the bad timing. So if we're talking about timing and what is bad timing, when you study economy during COVID and after COVID, 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025. So we have given businesses 3.5 to 4 years of post-COVID recovery time. And what we have seen in the economy is that businesses are recovering. So if there's ever timing, this is certainly a much better timing than 2022 after COVID, 2020.
Let me just say that I agree with this move to a certain degree, that it's about time some of the private sector companies pay the people them. It's about time. So I agree that, yeah, take some of the ease off the government back as it relates to payment of STEP workers. However, STEP should have been reformed by now. Yeah, I promise that, no? 4 years in. People are supposed to be graduating off of STEP. Graduating off of STEP. Shouldn't have been a permanent system. And so even if the private sector is paying half, you're paying half, it's still a burden on the government. And he mentioned, I think, like $75 million a paying STEP. I think, how much ever? 75 million? No. You need to find a way to totally get STEP in a new direction. 6 months in, boom, next. 6 months, boom, next. Skill them up, gear them up, let them go into the world of work. Right? So I agree with that move. STEP need to be reformed, and those private sector entities need to be paying the monies to assist. If you don't want the people, fine. We understand. But you need to be paying the people. Straight up, I make no apologies about that one. So I agree with the government with that part.
Earlier today, you said young citizens have access to land ownership. So my question to you is what new initiatives are being considered to reduce youth unemployment and skill mismatches? And my second question relates to climate and the Sustainable Island State agenda. That question is, what tangible progress has been made towards the Sustainable Island State agenda?
Right. Yeah. Thank you very much for those questions. You made a very good point with respect to the youth. And so what we have done a significant amount of work with the youth. For example, skill training, for example. We have entered into the area of training our youth in multiple things. Cybersecurity, technician in the solar space. We have also increased the number of opportunities, training opportunities for the youth in St. Kitts and Nevis, because a lot of the times we want our youth to be trained so that they can take advantage of a lot of the jobs.
What I really want to say about this thing, right, is that the Prime Minister loved to talk about, youth training. Something we mentioned the solar program, electric car program at CFBC and whatnot. And so one of the premier tertiary level institutions that is at the helm of helping to train the youth for the future is the Clarence Fitzroy Bryan College. One of the main tertiary level institutions for training the youth. So tell me why then, if this is so important, this agenda is so important, why is it that to this date, a day after his roundtable, no member of staff at CFBC got any kind of double salary? No member got a double salary. If the youth is so important, what about the trainers of the youth? They are not important? The lecturers and teachers up there are not important enough to justify them getting double salary. Other institutions got, other statutory bodies got, but not CFBC. Right? Those at the helm of training the youth. No, they didn't get any. So imagine the morale of those teachers and lecturers and facilitators and staff members. Imagine the morale that the government thinks that that entity doesn't deserve the support of helping to pay the workers double salary. Tell me how that makes sense. If the youth agenda is so strong with labor and those training the youths need to be motivated, don't need to feel disrespected. Because you know what the amount of disrespect that says? That we're going to pay, the others going to get help and whatever, pay the other statutory bodies. Yeah man, pay the people them double salary. But the lecturers, the teachers at CFBC, you're not worthy. You are not worthy of a double salary. You are training the youths, but you are not worthy. Make that make sense. And that's all I got to say about this youth. And because he went on with a lot of word salads, right? A lot of things to come, whatever, a lot of word salad, right? Some of it don't even jive too well. So, we ain't gonna go into that too much. But that's what I got to say on that question. Now, this this next answer was very, very funny to me, right? Very funny to me because this government will never, ever beat the allegations when it comes to the failure of the promised housing revolution. They would never beat it. Look how they twist and turn it. 2,400 homes in the first term. Now gonna happen. You fail miserably in that. No care what party you support, no care what you think. It was a failure. They did not deliver what they promised. But if all you think that is going to stop Terence Drew from trying to twist and fix it to make it seem as though the housing solution was a success, I must be mad. Because Drew ain't gonna let that fly. You're gonna find someone to say, yeah, I did that. We did it. We made it 2,400 homes. So here what Mr. Man saying about housing. Because me know what I'm laughing at. Because I heard him mention it before. And I say he can't be serious. But he mentioned it again. Blink and you might miss it. So let's go. Let's see him talking about housing now. Absolute failure in housing. But he trying to say that no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
And what they produced was evaluated. When you look at, our housing, we are nearly up to 1,000 houses now based on our policies. Some come through NHC. The others we have for first-time home owners cutting the concessions, interest rates very low so that not everybody wants an NHC house. There are those who would say, look, I want to be able to build, but, not an NHC home. NHC homes are really nice. I'm just saying those who have other options. They can benefit from first-time home ownership, and they can also benefit from the lowest interest rate that the banks have ever had for mortgages in St. Kitts and Nevis. And we saw a boom in terms of housing construction. And that is why TDC made a profit because a lot of their profit came from the construction industry. So we have.
So I hope y'all didn't miss that. Because Drew is saying that they have built over 1,000 homes, but not directly. Some through NHC, but some through all of the policies and whatnot available in banks like National Bank. So if you go to build your house through National Bank, keep in mind, National Bank had this program a while now, right? They had the 2 different tiers and whatnot a while now, the housing program. But according to Joe, it's because of his administration why the bank is able to give you such low interest rates on your mortgage. They're able, all the concessions for first-time builders. Last I checked, that was a thing for a long time. When you're building for the first time, duty-free concession. Last I checked, that was a thing long time. But I mean, if more concessions are removed, I don't know. If 0 from 0, I don't know. But according to Joe, he was integral, his government is integral in the housing revolution because of the environment they set where people can go to National and get mortgages to build the houses. So the 2,400 houses, no mention about that again. That project, no mention about that again. But yet, 1,000 homes, some directly to NHC and some through all the other policies that the banks are giving us. Keep in mind, the current mortgage system in the banks, they are adjustable rate mortgages, which means it might start at 5%, but in a few years, it might move up. So it's not set at the lowest ever, it can move up. So keep that in mind. So here it is. My boy taking credit for that. All right then, Joe.
2 questions. One, with the tightening of the economic blockade on Cuba causing electricity and food shortages, and with Jamaica having already called some of their students home, can you provide an update on the well-being of our students currently studying there and any measures being taken to support them? That's 1. And then 2, in light of recent media reports of yet another U.S. military strike in Caribbean waters and the growing buildup of U.S. naval and air assets in the region, including carriers, destroyers, and ongoing operations, described as part of Operation Southern Spear, what is the government of St. Kitts and Nevis's position on this increased military activity so close to home, and how does it assess the implications for regional security?
Right. Thank you very much. With respect to our students, I had a conversation very recently with the ambassador, our ambassador in Cuba, Ambassador Her Excellency Mrs. Verna Mills, and she updated me on the matter with the students that they are seeking to make sure that the students are kept as in good stead, and that if there's any issue at any point that we have to address, then we will definitely address it. And if our students would have to leave, that but those discussions have not come up as yet. I've also met with the Cuban ambassador to St. Kitts and Nevis, and he said things were being done to secure the students. But we continue to monitor the situation, and I will continue to stay in touch with our ambassador there, who is assessing the situation, and the ambassador of Cuba to St. Kitts and Nevis to see when there will be what the developments will be, and that will dictate the decisions. So we are watching the situation and monitoring the situation very, very closely. So I will say that. We have sent help to our students before. When I was not in government, my foundation sent support to the Cuban students because there were some challenges even before this. And even since then, I've been in government, we have sent support. And my foundation also helped as well. From the government, from my foundation, others, to send help to our students in Cuba. But of course, the situation has changed, and we are monitoring it very, very closely. Now, with respect to Southern Spear, and there was, I think, some activities between in St. Vincent and St. Lucia. The prime ministers, they have not sent out any specific information on that matter as yet, and we are hoping to see what is, what's that all about from their perspective, being the countries directly involved. So we continue to monitor that situation as well. Let me say that recently the commissioner and the commander of the Defense Force, Major Sutton, traveled for high-level meetings with respect to the security issues that are taking place in the Caribbean. So that's one. And that interface helped tremendously in understanding and putting our, having discussions around the matter. But I can say that this matter, I'm sure, will be a matter that will be discussed at CARICOM in the next week or so, when all leaders would have met and we would discuss this matter and as a region determine where we would go on this particular matter. This matter is not just a St. Kitts Nevis matter, it is a regional matter. But of course, we always want to maintain our security here in the region. There are challenges, there are limitations, but CARICOM, I know, will continue to engage. And next week, we will engage more profoundly when all of us meet face to face to discuss these security matters.
Now, let me just say, right? That is one of the weakest responses I've ever heard from a leader. One of the weakest responses I've ever heard. And this is where my disappointment in CARICOM lies, and my disappointment in my Prime Minister lies, because no matter how you twist or turn it, there's no gray area here. Extrajudicial killings in the Caribbean are just wrong. They are just wrong. You cannot twist it. No, there's nothing to find out. Whether they had on drugs on the boat or not, the cost of pushing drugs, last I checked, was not a death sentence. It was not a death sentence. And so there's no way you could twist it to make it palatable to say that these people deserve to be bombed in our Caribbean waters. We need to hear, and the gentleman asked him about from St. Kitts and Nevis' perspective. He didn't ask about CARICOM. And then he talking about, oh well, it happened down so. So therefore, he ain't bad house right now. So I ain't got nothing to say. So you can wait till on our doorstep to speak about it. And you are the chair. Well, you didn't speak on the chair as CARICOM. But we are part of CARICOM. And we can't even talk up and say, look here, we don't want any war in the Caribbean. We are a zone of peace. Maintain our sovereignty, maintain our peace. You cannot be shooting and killing nobody in the Caribbean. You realize that when Europe spoke up, that's when Trump backed down. When Europe spoke up. You are telling me that we as a Caribbean, as a nation, we can't say nothing to condemn what is happening in our own waters? All these extrajudicial killings, they are not right. As a human being, Mr. PM, you could speak up as a human being. You can't just be murdering people in the Caribbean just like that. That is wrong. And then Cuba. Cuba has been an ally for so long. When you go up JNF, some of the best doctors of JNF were Cuban trained. You yourself was Cuban trained. And now Trump basically treating Cuba how Israel treating Gaza. They cut off the oil pipeline for Cuba. Cuba is suffering. The people are suffering because they want to try to force regime change. They want to force an uprising of the people to overthrow the government. We need to stand up as a community and say, no, what you are doing to Cuba is wrong. And that should not fly. These are our allies, and we are not going to betray them in the short span of time, because Trump gonna be losing office in the next 2-3 years. He's done. He's done. He's gonna be out of office just now. So you're telling me after Trump gone and I get back on his spine, you're going to Cuba and say, well, oh, we sorry? We sorry we didn't support you when Trump was bullying you guys? That's what I'm gonna say? I got no shame. Stand up for something decent, man. You, when Cuba got trained, you know the advantages Cuba gives us as our system, our medical system. You don't talking about going to Ghana and wherever to get nurses from Nigeria and wherever to try to diversify. Because you don't want, when they crack down on Cuba, we get caught with our Nah, man, that's not the right approach. I feel CARICOM, St. Kitts, you as a human being, stand up against the extrajudicial killings of people and stand up about the hardship that they put in Cuba through. Marco Rubio and all them put in Cuba through. For what? China's a communist nation too. They can't play with China. If we stand together, they have no choice but to back down. Keep in mind, tourism is $1 billion industry in America. And some of the destinations are Caribbean countries. They love to have the Caribbean cruises and stuff like that. So you're telling me we can grind, bite our tongue, grin and bear it for 3 years and show solidarity with Cuba? Come on, we need to do better than that. I think that's where I'm going to leave this video, because much of the other things that he mentioned, not really that substantial. Like I said, it was a short interview. The only other thing that he mentioned that I kind of want to comment on is the fact that they say that they launch an app, and so when you go into a supermarket and you see the price of certain things, you take a picture, send it to them, and they're going to try to enforce price control. But Mr. PM, normally the government can only enforce price control on what is deemed as essential. Whatever you put in your basket of goods that you deem as essential, those are the things that you can enforce price control on. You cannot control every single thing within a supermarket. So don't give people the idea and then every somebody taking the phone and sending a picture. Say, look how expensive, look at these Goya or these Kellogg's or whatever. No. You have to educate people. It is not everything the government can control the prices. And why you don't know control price and rent? Because rent killing people. Why you don't control price and rent? Rent killing people? Put a ceiling price or floor price and rent? You can do that for housing, because housing is essential. As you can control housing prices. But may you see them doing it. So don't encourage that kind of thing there. Alright, I'm gonna stay here for now. Let me know what you think. Discuss in the comment section. Like, subscribe. And just let me know what you think about the PM and his roundtable and all the things that were discussed. Alright, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more.